العارمة من هوليوود.
Good afternoon. You're watching the English newscast on Future Television. I'm Linda Tamim, and these are today's top stories. A cabinet session discusses the contentious issues of key security appointments and Syria-based jihadi fighters entrenched on the outskirts of Arsal. Head of the Future Parliamentary Bloc, Fouad Senyoura, concludes his testimony in The Hague before the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. And Russian President Vladimir Putin accuses the United States of meddling outside its jurisdiction in the arrests of top FIFA officials. A cabinet session has discussed the contentious issues of key security appointments and Syria-based jihadi fighters entrenched on the outskirts of the northeastern border town of Arsal. Defense Minister Samir Muqbil says the Lebanese army is well equipped and ready to repel any attack in Arsal or its outskirts, while Hezbollah Minister Hash Hassan said Arsal is a Lebanese town occupied by terrorists. Justice Minister Ashraf Rifi also said Arsal was a red line. Without naming Hezbollah, he said the state comes before the statelet. Rifi has been calling on the Lebanese state to act and abolish Hezbollah's mini-state within the state. Sharp differences exist among the ministers over the issue of security appointments and how to deal with jihadis based on the outskirts of Arsal. During a cabinet session on Wednesday afternoon designed to continue the discussion on the 2015 draft budget, Foreign Minister Gibran Bassil brought up the issue of security appointments and Islamist militants holed up in rugged caves on Arsal's outskirts. Prime Minister Tamam Slam will make an official visit to Saudi Arabia on June the 2nd and 3rd. A source close to the Prime Minister said Salam will discuss developments in Lebanon and the region with Saudi King Salman and senior Saudi officials. The visit comes amid a war of words between the Future Movement and Hezbollah over the latter's offensive in the Qalamun alongside the Syrian army and the Saudi-led military operation against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in Yemen. Head of the Future Parliamentary Bloc, Fouad Senyoura, has concluded his testimony in The Hague before the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. Senyoura said the resistance, which he said he had always recognized when it was fighting Israel, had modified its activities, noting he knew nothing of former U.S. Ambassador to Lebanon Jeffrey Feltman's plans to negotiate with Hezbollah in October of 2010. The United States played a role in the development of Resolution 1701, he said, but America is not the ally of our group. Moreover, the court approved the joining of 5 people to the Witness Protection Program. The hearing of 4 secret witnesses is also planned by video between June and July. Former Prime Minister Fouad Senyoura tore into Hezbollah during his cross-examination at the STL on Wednesday, claiming that the resistance party has been reduced to little more than proxy militia used by foreign powers to meddle in internal conflicts across the region. The weapons of Hezbollah no longer speak in the name of the Lebanese, he said, and they are no longer pointing toward the Israeli occupation. A Lebanese man holding a Canadian passport was remanded in Cypriot police custody after 2 tons of potential bomb-making material was found in his home. Police said the man, aged 26, whose name was not disclosed, appeared in court in the southern resort town of Larnaca for a hearing held behind closed doors in the interests of national security. Sources say the suspect, remanded in custody for 8 days, faces possible charges of conspiracy to commit a crime, membership of a terrorist organization, and illegal possession and transfer of explosive materials. Cypriot police believe this to be one of the biggest seizures of illegal ammonium nitrate anywhere in the world. The man was arrested on Wednesday following a period of surveillance, and more than 400 boxes of ammonium nitrate were discovered at his home in Larnaca. Firefighters have managed to put out a massive fire that ravaged Skybar, an upscale rooftop nightclub, early this morning in downtown Beirut. It took about 50 firefighters and more than 4 hours to douse the fire that ripped through Skybar, which was due to open at the beginning of June when renovations were set to be completed. The cause of the fire, which broke out at 2 a.m., was not immediately known. A security source, however, said the most probable cause was a short circuit in the electrical system. The fire reportedly damaged Skybar's kitchen, bar, and VIP lounge. Shafi El-Khazan, owner of Sky Management, said 60% of the nightclub was damaged in the blaze. Khazan anticipates repairs will take at least 6 to 7 months. on to Syria, militants fighting for the Islamic State have released images of the horrific conditions in which those opposed to the Assad regime were kept at the notorious Tadmor prison in Syria. Following their capture of Palmyra last Thursday, ISIS jihadis released dozens of prisoners from the ancient city's jail, which is famous for the torture and summary execution of those held there. Images of the now empty prison show tiny windowless jail cells where those accused of committing crimes were held in total darkness once the huge steel doors slammed shut. The only semblance of a toilet in the cells is a small hole in the floor, and even the corridors and communal areas are seen covered in mold, suggesting the building is riddled with damp and unlikely to have any sort of heating during Syria's long and bitterly cold winters. Omar and his sister Majid were born in Syria with a growth hormone deficiency, the result of a dysfunctional pituitary gland. Neither can grow without continuous hormone and vitamin treatment, which was available for free back home in Syria. However, since the family fled and became refugees in Lebanon in early 2013, they haven't been able to afford the treatment, and neither have NGOs and aid organizations. Check it out. And coming up next, Iraqi authorities exhumed the remains of 470 people believed to have been executed by ISIS in Tikrit. More details after the break. Welcome back. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Let's hear more about Omar and his sister Majid, born in Syria with a growth hormone deficiency.
Omar is making his final rounds before he leaves Lebanon.
جميل.
يسافروا؟ ها؟ لوين يسافروا؟
بس هذا.
بس انت؟
لا، عن كل واحد.
شرف.
وأنا وأهلي مشان العلاج. هيك. جاني صورينا عندك.
وسلفلنا وبعثنا صورك. بعثونا صورك بتصير كبير.
Omar is being resettled to Finland with his family. This will be his first time on a plane.
بتخيل إنه الطيارة لازم تكون بس هيك يصير بالسما هيك تكون مثل ما حكيتي يا خيو، وقبل تصير بالسما تفضل تفضل تفوت هيك تدخلك وروح اللبنة.
Omar is 8 years old but looks much younger. He hasn't been able to grow for years. His 2-year-old brother has caught up with him. They are almost the same height.
أنا بدي أخذ علاج مشان أكبر أصير زلمة وأتجوز ومو هلق الأولاد عم يقتلوني. بكبر أول شغلة، ثاني شغلة عند بكبر بروح بحاشب عن حالي. هاتي 5
يلا عمر يلا. هاي لك أحمد.
Omar and his sister Majid were born with a hormone deficiency that affects growth. When the family fled Syria in 2013, they came to Lebanon, but could no longer afford the medication Omar and Majid need to grow.
هذا هو اللي أثر فينا، هو اللي ذبحنا، هو اللي حطمنا، هو اللي رجعنا مو 3 سنين، رجعنا 9 سنين.
Abroad, they will have a chance to catch up, not only on treatment but on schools too.
كتير صعب إنه عمر ليكي مثل ما انك شايفي، مش شوفت عينك يعني مثل ما انك شايفي، يعني إن شاء الله ولا أم بتكون شعورها هيك، إنه إن شاء الله كل أولاد الناس يكونوا بخير يا رب دخيلك. وأنا مسافرة أصلاً على فنلندا كرمال أولادي. أهم شيء عمر ومجد يتعالجوا، يتأمل مستقبل هون، يدرسوا، هذا اللي بيهمني وهذا المبسوطة فيه. لا اركب منيح.
Omar and his siblings were playing outside in Syria when a rocket hit their house. but little of those memories remain as they start a new chapter in their life.
أنا متخيل إذا اتعالج وأكبر
يا رب
ويكون عندي غرفة لحالي وهيك سنجوب هيك ربي عندي بالغرفة أقسم له يعني نص شجرة وحط لي إياها بقلبي عندي بالغرفة خيو كل غرفة حيوانات.
In Finland, Omar and Majid will restart their hormone treatment, and the family hopes they can still grow despite going untreated for years. How fast it happens is not clear yet, but they will be in good hands and in a better place to see this through.
Moving on, Iraq authorities have exhumed the remains of 470 people believed to have been executed by the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant group near the city of Tikrit last year. This is according to the country's health minister, Adila Hammoud, who was speaking at a press conference in the capital, Baghdad. In June 2014, armed men belonging or allied to ISIL abducted hundreds of young, mostly Shia recruits from Speicher base just outside the city of Tikrit. They were then lined up in several locations and executed one by one, as shown in pictures and footage that has emerged since. The highest estimate for the number of people killed in one of the worst atrocities ever committed by ISIL stands at 1,700. Some of their bodies were pushed into the Tigris River and others hastily buried in locations that were discovered when the government and allied forces retook Tikrit from the fighters about 2 months ago. The news comes as Iraqi army, aided by Shia militias, have been fighting to retake Ramadi, the capital of Anbar province, from the ISIL fighters. At least 110 Iraqi security forces have been killed in the fighting with the rebel group in the past 24 hours. Iran has warned global powers against making excessive demands in talks aimed at sealing a groundbreaking nuclear deal after France demanded access to its military installations. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Jawad Zarif says if no excessive demands in nuclear talks are made, then a comprehensive deal can be reached in a reasonable period of time.
Well, I believe that if the other side respects what has already been agreed upon in Lausanne in terms of the parameters for an agreement and tries to draft based on mutual respect and a comprehensive agreement with Iran that is sustainable, that can be balanced, and that can be considered a dignified, mutually respectful agreement, then we can meet any deadline. And if people insist on excessive demands, on renegotiations, then it would be difficult to envisage an agreement even without a deadline. I am hopeful that this will in fact reach a final conclusion within a reasonable period of time, particularly with the new government in Greece, where we share views on how we must insist on our dignity and respect. I believe they can understand better why Iran cannot accept any solution that is less than respectful and less than dignified. And we hope that Greece can play that role in making everybody appreciate that we can only have agreements in which all sides can claim that they have achieved positive results.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has accused the United States of meddling outside its jurisdiction in the arrest of top officials from soccer's world governing body, FIFA. Putin said the arrests in Switzerland on Wednesday were an obvious attempt to prevent FIFA head Sepp Blatter's re-election this week, but that the 79-year-old had Russia's backing. FIFA President Sepp Blatter had chaired an emergency meeting with representatives from FIFA's 6 confederations following the wave of arrest of football officials, including 2 FIFA vice presidents in Zurich on Wednesday. The FIFA Emergency Committee rarely meets, and 2 of its nominated members, Jeffrey Webb, the president of CONCACAF, and Eugenio Figueiredo of Uruguay, The South American Confederation president were not present, as they were among those detained on Wednesday. Blatter has also not been seen in public since the latest corruption crisis began early on Wednesday morning. Malaysia says it believes 139 people are buried in graves at remote detention camps used by people smugglers on the Thai border, which were discovered on the weekend. Deputy Home Minister Wan Junaidai Tuanku Jafar says each gravesite contains the remains of one person, not multiple bodies as previously feared. Northern Malaysia is on a route for smugglers bringing people to Southeast Asia by boat from Myanmar, most of them Rohingya Muslims who say they are fleeing persecution, and people from Bangladesh seeking work. Smugglers have also used southern Thailand. This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. A cabinet session discusses the contentious issues of key security appointments and Syria-based jihadi fighters entrenched on the outskirts of Assal. Head of the Future Parliamentary Bloc, Fuad Sanyura, concludes his testimony in The Hague before the Special Tribunal for Lebanon. And Russian President Vladimir Putin accuses the United States of meddling outside its jurisdiction in the arrests of top FIFA officials. Those are your headlines for today. I'm Linda Tamim, and I thank you all for tuning in today.